Hello and welcome back. My name is Rachel. We are going to be chatting about liver cancer in this one. This is an incredibly interesting and powerful healing video for you, no matter what. So if this is, these sessions are not only supportive for people to reduce their stress who are healing from these types of cancers, or if the cancer is in the liver area of the body. However, it's also preventative. So if you resonate with this and you want to take preventative measures to shift family cycle, shift an intergenerational pattern, or even if this did start in your own patterning, you have every ability to change that reality for yourself. And so I feel this great sense of warmth in sharing this with you. Um, Liver is a very powerful organ. It's in and unto itself, the liver is this organ that really shows us our boundaries. And when we think about the tight junctions of the gut, which I talk about in our health coaching Q&As and our health coaching sessions as well, regenerative health coaching. So we talk about the integrity of the gut lining and how the tight junctions are a particular cell that are like Velcro, and they stick. They hold cells together. And essentially what happens, they hold the lining together in the gut. But when the integrity of that Velcro, that tangibility between one and the other, is compromised, they separate. And that's what creates a boundary event. Quite literally, in the gut, creates a leaky gut. But they're not just in the lining of the gut, they're in the lining of organs. They're in the lining of the liver. So for example, the liver turns information into blood or urine, or it detoxifies, it pulls toxins out of the blood. But if the boundaries of that organ are not in integrity, then toxins can go into places they're not supposed to. Same with the brain, the blood-brain barrier. The tight junctions are responsible for that. So again, boundary. If that boundary is compromised, then incoherent information, toxins, bugs, parasites, matter can get into the brain as well. So looking after your tight junctions in your gut, there's a lot of elements to that on the physicality. However, for the purpose of this video, we're going to talk mainly about the emotional aspects to boundaries. And the reason why I'm doing this and coming from this approach and this perspective is because suppressed anger is a huge part of healing the liver. And I'm going to unpack that more. However, when you consider implementing new boundaries and listening to your anger, processing your anger, you get to heal your experience of boundaries. You're teaching then your body how to have boundaries as well. And it's actually a really huge part of cancer. Cancer often progresses, in many cases, and many different types of cancer, to the liver and the lungs. I'm going to go into the lungs in a future video. However, the lungs hold fear. The very first thing that often happens when we have a diagnosis is we establish a fear of death. Fear of death sits in the lungs. And so it's not uncommon for cancer to progress to the lungs. Also, what's a common thread through most cancer types? that I see in relationship is boundaries, not being respected, not being established, and continued boundary events from the gut level, yes, but also in life, in relationships, where boundaries haven't been respected, boundaries have been crossed, and or haven't even been taught due to early developmental years of life and what we can absorb and learn through those times of our life. If our parents didn't have any boundaries, or our siblings, then it's quite likely we don't either until we start to establish them. And the effect of not having boundaries is suppressed anger. Because if we acknowledged and listened to our anger, we would then be able to learn from it. And what anger teaches us is boundaries. How to say no. How to say yes to yourself and no to others if you need to. How to have your own space. And at the very base of that is feeling safe. Because often part of why we let people cross our boundaries or don't establish them is because that's how we've tended to feel safety in a family environment or in a relationship environment. It's this false sense of safety, though. Because really what's happening is there is no, at the systemic level, there's no safety because there's no boundary. It's just what is known as safety. And so you're reprogramming, re-imprinting and inviting a new way forward of that actually my boundaries help me feel safety and security where there's been insecurity. Interesting to contemplate anyway. So I'll get started before I overshare, because when I wrote this, essentially I'm a trans channel. So what that means is that I'm able to move myself to the side and allow channel for direct information to come through me, direct from the source of that information. And through that process, when I wrote the healing messages and identified the suppression patterning, don't always remember the entire everything that's written, because I'm letting myself be a clear channel for that. That's what clairvoyance, that's what clear channeling is understanding how to let information in. Anyway, I won't overshare about that. It's just to share why I don't always remember what's written. Definitely it came through me. I have let myself be a portal for this information to be communicated, but to take credit for it would be ignorant, because essentially it's come from, like I say, people who have died of liver cancer, or different higher guidance like archangels who have communicated this information with me, or different beings that I know and can discern are beings of light and integrity and love have shared this information with me. Okay, so liver cancer, suppressed emotions, vulnerability, anger. I'm just going to, oh yes, I just needed to double check I was recording. Sorry. Only because in the past I've paused recording and started sharing and then had to do it all over again. We don't want that. I'm human too, and sometimes forget things, especially if I'm healing. Lately I've been detoxing mold out of my body, and mold can cause brain fog. Okay, so here we go. Liver cancer. I'm just going to start from the start. Vulnerability, anger, insecurity, bitterness, overjoy, guilt, effort unreceived, hatred, pride, resentment. Also, what's not written there, but something to be mindful of, is the emotion of sadness as well. Is not uncommon to be found pushed down in the liver. Sadness often comes after recognizing these other emotions. These are more fire element emotions that are sharp and fiery, and often what comes after is the water. And often that's conscious, not subconscious, and that's why it's not recognized in this field as suppressed. But I feel it's important to speak into that sadness. Oh, and I've written a note down here that sadness often follows a release of anger because of the sheer sadness that occurs from having to suppress for so long these emotions. Okay, so it's sort of like a watery cooling that happens after all the fire comes out. And I think it's just really important to mention that. Another emotion that is written here as suppressed is shame. And shame is interesting because shame can drive a lot of reasoning why we might not have allowed ourselves to experience this. It can also drive a lot of different behavior that can influence boundaries in one way or another. Or it can influence suppression, because if we're feeling shame about whatever narrative or story that occurred, we can also feel shame about these emotions as well if we're not being taught how to navigate them well. Okay, I'm going to carry on. So this information is for cancer that has once spread to the liver and or started in the liver. Beliefs. I am not enough. It's not safe to be me. Validation happens externally to me. Others hold me back. Liver cancer. So the healing message. Liver cancer is here to heal the masculine lineage of your family. You have never experienced a balance of masculine and feminine intelligence within. There has been a heavy oppression of purpose in your family line, which has been driving the toxic expression of controlling and dominating male influences in the lives of the women and men of your lineage. You are here to find your righteous rage, draw a line in the sand, say no to externalized control, validation, and perfectionism, and to let go. You are here to transform your path into one that is one of devotion to being in service to your greater being, your highest version of your heart and soul, and in service to humanity if you choose. Being in service to humanity doesn't mean being a martyr or trying to transform the world. You transform the world and you are in service to humanity by being you, by honoring what's authentic to you and your soul. Who are you inside? That's your service to humanity. Going outside and planting trees or building a garden, growing your own food, acknowledging the water, that's being in service to humanity. It's not necessarily becoming a politician or a volunteer. That may be your path. It may be your path. If that's you, that's great, but it's not everyone's. And it's really important to understand what what being in service to humanity actually means. Essentially, the greatest service you are to yourself and honoring what's authentic to your soul and who you truly are, underneath all those layers of who you might have been told you're here to be, that's your highest calling. That's your service. I just think it's really important to elaborate on that because in this day and age, it's very distorted. It's been very distorted what being in service means. This means listening to your heart and acknowledging hard to feel emotions that come with change and facing the truth. Listening to your heart and acknowledging the hard to feel emotions. So what are your hard to feel emotions? I'm just going to take a sip of water here. And sometimes I'm just going to read all of this first and then I'll elaborate. No more secrets are to be kept to suppress shame in your lineage. You are here to make that change. To learn how to navigate your emotions and to normalize anger. There has been violence in your lineage and your family have avoided conflict or have lived in the opposite. They have lived in great conflict and so much violence that there is now a great fear of expressing anger due to the lack of resources and the skill that has been demonstrated from losing control of anger itself. So from losing control of the anger, that can create that fear. You are here to change that if you choose. Now, somatic experiencing and somatic psychotherapy is a pathway to support you to get the rage out of your tissues, to learn clean anger release and feel comfortable with that, and to make behavioral and habitual changes, which are how you can shift your relationship with anger, to no longer fear it taking control of you or becoming harmful to others. Open your hips and roar fire like a dragon. So hips are where we often store our anger. Hips are, we hold a lot of tension in our hips. So anything like long lunges, or if you look up, I'm just going to bring up pose here. And share it with you. This is so much better than putting all this in a book, I have to say. We just do it here now. So this is dragon pose in yin yoga. So I'll show you some images here. You can do this at home. You just hop down onto the carpet, or if you've got a yoga mat, roll out a mat, or go to a yin yoga class. You'll be surprised how much tension you release. Yin yoga is a form of somatic release, okay? There's an entire series on dragon poses. So this is one way how to do a dragon pose. This is another way how. Another. And what happens is we actually store a lot of heat here. And we have this muscle called the psoas. The psoas is one of our muscles that primarily holds stress in our body and tension. This is the muscle that is being released. Look at the area that covers. it's a huge muscle. It's really close to the bones, and it really is responsible for holding our stress and our tension. And this is the muscle that we're releasing massively when we do a dragon pose in yoga. There's also remedial massage techniques where you can press down. If you feel around your hip bones with your hands, I'm just going to show you, demonstrate, I guess. You can see my belly, but right in the top of your hip bones there, you can press down with your peace fingers down into the hip bones and pull across. That's a way to also, through pressure point practices, to release your psoas. You breathe into that space. There's a tuning fork that you can get from Biofield Tuning. You'd look up Eileen McCusick Biofield Tuning. There's a tuning fork called the sonic slider. You can use that as well. You can push down on that area with the sonic slider and release the tension in your psoas if a lunge isn't available to you. However, I do really recommend going into these long lunges to release, because we hold so much tension in here. There's also different areas of the body that are linked. So your fascia is like a, this is fascia, this here. It's like cobwebs that store up between the layers of your muscle. And when you release it, this network, it's like a mycelium around your body. And mycelium is, so let's just do this. We're just gonna go there because we can. Your mycelium it's actually to do with mushrooms, right? Mushrooms are the most intelligent species on the planet. Really, they're like the network. They're like the web of communication of the planet. So when you have a look at mycelium, look how similar this is. This is a mycelium of mushrooms. Okay, so when you look at your fascia, you can, when you release one part of your fascia, you will release it from all areas that are related. So fascial release is really fantastic. And there is an incredible professional on fascia release that I'll bring in as a guest onto the platform here for our Q&A nights, because she can go into this in great depth. It's actually a map of your fascia as well. That's quite incredible. But essentially, I could be here a while just searching that. But when you go into your psoas, you have fascia in between all of that too. And what I'm feeling to share is that when you stretch your psoas, you release fascia, you release the connective tissue that is associated with your liver. So let's bring up the liver. This is important so you know what you're healing. So this is your liver here. Okay, so the fascia in the hips of the psoas is linked to this, is what I'm being shown from spirit. That when you release from that fascia in the hips, you release chaos, pain, and emotions from the liver. So it's really powerful, Really, really powerful. Okay, so practicing hip opening postures are really potent to support you to release that tension from your body. And the reason why I'm bringing you into your body is because you haven't been there. You've been feeling not safe, and so you just haven't been in the tissues of your body because of that suppression you've been avoiding. So we need to bring you all the way into your body by doing movements that support you to come into your body and feel it. Another one is frog pose. Okay, looks intense, but it's really powerful. All right, so I actually get blankets, put them underneath the knees here. And while you do this, you're breathing right into the diaphragm. Okay, so there's lots of different poses here that can support you to release fascia around your psoas, your hips. Frog pose is a potent, deep pose. I invite you, when you do practice these postures, to warm up first. Start with some lunges and then move your way into some wider opening hips. Or ask a yoga therapist to guide you through these different postures to support you to release. They're rather non-invasive and they're really powerful to get you in your body and breathing. Another one is child's pose. This is child's pose. So you bring your knees out to the edge of the mat, you have your toes together. You can have your arms outstretched in front of you or bring them down by your sides. These poses, anything that's hip opening. Okay, so you can even Google hip opening poses. You might even get an entire series there. Hip openers for beginners. So this is all we need to do, yeah? Breathing in, opening through the hips. It's not all we need to do, but it's a very important part of healing your body. It's going into your body and practicing different positions that can support you to release. Okay. The gene keys. So I'm just going to go into the gene keys part. Okay, so way of inspiration, gene key 61, the shadow psychosis, the gift inspiration, the dilemma knowledge, the city is sanctity. So finding your own sanctity. So when you think about once you establish boundaries, you've created sanctity for yourself. You've allowed yourself to really overcome the projection of anger or overcome conflict avoidance or overcome the unhealthy release of like rage where it's projected on others or lashing out of violence, that type of psychosis. And you have found inspiration and knowledge and understanding of what that information, that emotion is there to show you, to then find sanctity and understanding of boundaries. Okay, feeling safe. If we have this gene key, our life is a contemplation of death. So death in a word is not necessarily dying. It's transformation. It's understanding what's here to be dissolved or resolved. Death is not really always leaving the body. It's very rarely actually that. It's more so becoming familiar with transformation and opening to receive love. Just to chat about that word there. We must not turn away from this work. It will fill us with life. The answers will come. The memory of the beyond will return in time. We must listen inwardly for the music of life and let it move us in creative work. Richard Rudd, 64 Ways. And there's the website there. You can pop that into your search engine and have a look at a further elaboration, contemplation of this gene key. This is only just a tiny seed versus an entire forest of information that comes from gene keys, which is a very powerful healer and unto itself. So also, I want you to contemplate here if you are experiencing liver cancer or cancer in the liver, are you allowing a subconscious program to create a reality for you through this? And that subconscious program can come from the projection of what so many around us have learned to say or believe, that once it's in the liver, that's it. I hear that all the time. I've heard it nearly every patient that I've seen who has had liver cancer or cancer in the liver where it's spread. I've heard it through family members, through community, or once it's in the liver, that's it. I want you to write that down. I want you to burn it. Let it go. I want you to let go of that projection, because really what it is facing the deepest part of yourself. It's facing and understanding and letting go of this anger, this bitterness, this injustice in your life. What happened 7 years pre-diagnosis? What happened? That was, between 5 and 7 years that really ignited this anger pattern in you. It's time to move beyond it, let it go, and find the gift in this. The gift is your boundaries. The gift is peace. The gift is forgiveness from within. And creating a new reality from that. Being yourself. And no longer letting external influences to have any form of control over you. This is full self-reclamation. Time for you to reclaim your power back to you and who you're here to be and who you are. And becoming an alchemist of your experience, turning your experiences into magic, turning your experience into play, creativity, curiosity, love, self-love. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Hope this has been helpful. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or revelations or something that's come through this experience, please comment below, because sharing is caring. If you're feeling it, someone else is likely experiencing it too. So really comment below, because the more that you interact and engage with one another, the more you're going to achieve a sense of community and continue your healing and releasing yourself from isolation, the self-isolation, this part of you that's been isolated. So I really invite you to share down below and to join our sharing circles, to join our monthly meetups, Q&As, and things like that you'll see posted regularly in the feed. All right, lots of love and all the best for your path. Thank you.